there everybody, I'm Ashley and I have been in the Paper Suite studio all day making 4 videos for this week's Saturday showcase featuring Watercolor Textures brushstroke stamp set. This stamp set includes 4 different types of brushstrokes, different sizes, and in this video, the first video, I'm going to be showing you how to, one way I should say, to use one of these, the skinnier rectangular like stripe kind of brushstrokes. There are lots of different ways you can use them. You could heat emboss it, you can make patterns, you can underline things, you can use it with spritzing it with a little bit of water, and you can mimic an actual watercolor just by simply stamping. You can jumpstart your watercoloring by using with watercolor paper and kind of just building it on with different colors and different dye inks. There's so many things you can do with it, so I said I'll show a video for each of the different stamps since there are only 4 images in the stamp set. So this video is all about featuring the skinniest brushstroke that is in the Watercolor Textures brushstroke stamp set, and right now I'm going to show you the actual card. Okay, so this is the card that I will be showing today. I'm actually going to show how I did the whole card, but what I will be showing is how I actually stamp this pattern here at the bottom. And this card just shows a way you can use a stamped piece of paper. And so what I did was I stamped each line here and then did this type of a pattern, and I chose in my own color palette. But this is one way how you can use a stamped watercolor design and build your card around it. I used some stenciling, I added a sentiment strips here, and even some felt embellishing floral flowers just to enhance the look of the card and show how you can make it lots of layers and just basically use that watercolor stamp as a actual pattern paper. So let's get started on how I actually stamp this. Okay, this is the Watercolor Textures brushstroke stamp set. It is a mini stamp set, retails for $5 and comes with the label affixed like this, and you get 1 large rectangular brushstroke stamp, a skinny rectangular brushstroke stamp, a square type of brushstroke, and then a shorter rectangle. So there are 4 different brushstrokes in this particular brushstroke stamp set, and in this video I'm going to be using the long skinny one to show you how you can make one pattern stamping it. I have here Stamper Select by Papertrey white cardstock. I have my T-square ruler. My paper here is trimmed to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and so I am going to actually I'm going to mark it here at 2 inches. Which is the middle point. I'm going to do that because I'm going to be creating a pattern where I want to make sure I stay right in the middle of my paper as best as possible. Okay, and I can always come back and erase that line there. So now I'm going to, I picked a color palette which includes Papertrey's Hawaiian Shores, Pale Peony, Dark Indigo here, and also Melon Berry. Here. So I'm going to get all of my ink colors ready. So I'm going to be doing quite a bit of stamping between the different color inks. Alright, I want to make sure that I also have a damp paper towel or a baby wipe readily available so I can clean off my stamp in between stamping each one. So I'm going to start with the Hawaiian Shores, and I'm just using simply a stamping technique here right onto the cardstock. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to clean it off. If you have an apron or something, just dry off the stamp on the apron. I actually put it on my jeans. I like wearing jeans, and I feel like that's what jeans are for sometimes, just to be able to wipe that right on off. So I'm going to spin this around and turn it around so I can get like a different type of pattern each time I stamp. So it's not matching up exactly the same on each time I do a stamp. Alright, next I have a dark indigo. You could have it so that there's a little bit of white showing in between each stripe. I think that makes cool results. And my last color is Melon Berry. Melon Berry is kind of a strong color, so sometimes if you want to stamp off, you could do that. I'm going to try it fully saturated first and see how I like it. And then if I want it a lighter hue, I'm going to stamp off on future stripes. So that's my first set of colors using my color combo. Now I'm ready to keep it going and start over again with my Hawaiian shores. Alright, so I finished stamping my pattern. I stamped it with the arrows pointing downwards, but you can have the arrows, the stripes pointing at an angle upwards, or you can have it to the side, left or right. It's up to you in a horizontal or portrait mode. But this is one way you can use the stripes. Of course, you can just do regular vertical or horizontal stripes, not into like an actual pattern. But it really makes a cool pattern paper look, and you can choose any colors you want. Of course, rainbow pattern will look really cool. You can do certain hues of the rainbow, like yellows to oranges, pinks to reds, blues, purples, and greens, and so forth. So I think this looks very pretty, and it's just stamped and looks like you've watercolored it, but haven't gone through the trouble of having to watercolor and dealing with the bleeding and things like that, but still get the same effect. Another thing you could do is actually take some dies and die cut from this particular stamped pattern. Once you've stamped it, you don't have to use this actually on a card front, but if you use this as a certain element, you can take and use a part of it, like this part here, as a border. And I think that would be really pretty as well. So there's a lot of things you can do with just the stamped part. And sometimes when you're not sure what you want to create, but just want to stamp and get into the mood, Watercolor Textures Brushstrokes is a good place to start, because you can just pick some colors and just start stamping different sheets, and then decide, hey, and be inspired. This is the direction I like to take this, or now this is what I want to do with this particular stamped pattern paper that I've stamped. Alright, so that wraps up the first video of this week's series on Watercolor Textures Brushstroke stamp set. I hope you enjoyed my process on how I built that angled pattern using the skinniest image in Watercolor Textures Brushstrokes, and I hope it inspires you to create something too. Just pick a fun color palette you want to work with, start there, and enjoy that process. Alright, so I hope you catch me on the next video.